And are you refreshed?
Yes.
Good. Now what? They're supposed to become fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer. This is sort of like priming the pump, isn't it? On the aisle? Wait. Wait. Further forward. Further forward. Stand up if you think it's you. Yes. Pick me, don't pick me. Thank you.
Thank you for picking me. I want to know how we can best help others.
She wants to know how to best help others. Well, first, let's say that you see someone in need of help. And so you leave the vortex to go be with them. Now you have nothing to give them. So the way you help others is by noticing their problem briefly as possible. Of course, the closer you are to them, the less brief it is. But the idea is figure it out as quickly as you can. And when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. So you, every single time, create a vortex version. You create a solution version of them and their problem. But then your responsibility is not to them, it's to yourself. Because in creating that vortex version, you have become more. And now you must be in alignment with the more that you have become in order to fulfill your own beingness and before you can help them. There are a lot of people who say, well, Abraham, you teach selfishness because you seem like you don't want us to go spend much time with people who are suffering. And we say, we don't want you to give your attention to the suffering version of them. We want you to give your attention to the well version of them. Sort of like we were talking with our friend whose husband is incarcerated. We want her to see him as she knows he wants to be, not as he may be right now, this red hot minute. And that is not just the way you help others. That's the only way you can help others. People don't take it very well often because they want you to be there for them.
So how do you best do that when it's something that seems really big, like the earthquake that we just heard occurred in Japan or something like that? How do we, if we want to help, do that?
Well, you can tell when you're not helping by the pain you feel. In other words, when you put in a less connected global world, you would not have as much moment-to-moment information that would have the potential of making you feel that way. And people sometimes misunderstand, and they think we are trying to teach you to be hard-hearted, to just take your eyes away from anything that might bother you so that you can selfishly feel good. But there's a bigger reason than just you're feeling good. And of course, that's a big enough reason. And that is, unless you are feeling good, you don't have anything to offer. And so we know there are plenty of things that happen around the planet, sometimes relatively close to you in proximity, that you don't want in your experience, and you didn't want in their experience either. But we really want you to feel us when we say that your attention to anything that brings you pain takes you out of the category of helping, of really helping. Of course, you can feel bad and donate your money. You can feel bad and donate your time. In other words, as we were talking with our friend who had arthritis, we were explaining to her that she could disassociate her physical trauma with her emotional trauma. So we are not suggesting that you should not do everything that you can do and everything that you have the ability to do. We just want you to be sure, we want to be sure that you understand that what we mean about true help is when you could offer money from inside the vortex too. You could offer personal relief aid from inside the vortex too, you see. You could envision, Esther has been very scantily watching this news, because there is so much bad news today that she cringes every time she turns on the television, because there's something painful that comes her way. And so what we are wanting you to realize is that you can be selective about what you are watching. And so Esther has been envisioning recovery. She's been envisioning people figuring things out from this. She's been envisioning happy reunions. She's been envisioning people returning to the vortex, whether they croak to do it, and celebrating their homecoming. And she happened to turn on the television and was moving very quickly past one of the news channels when she heard that there were many thousands of people that lived in this village, and that the village was completely destroyed and no one lost their life. And Esther thought, I love that story. That's my favorite story of all of this, that there were people who were sensitive. There were people that had some inner guidance. There were people that were letting others know. They are beginning new societies. They are forming new relationships. They are on the verge of enormous new adventure. In other words, there will long-term be much advantage that comes from it, and short-term, of course, discomfort, which you can choose to participate in to whatever level that you choose. It is our encouragement, and if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would choose no personal physical pain. We just wouldn't let ourselves emotionally go there, for all of the reasons that we've been speaking all day here today.
Okay. And the same then if it's someone who is closer to us, who we know is suffering physical pain or something?
Well, even more then, because even more then that you have to, because there's not distance or cultures that are separating you. If it's someone that you have grown accustomed to thinking about quite a bit, and now all of a sudden they're in a position that if you think about them as they are, then there's no good will come to you or to them. But you see, this is the conversation that we've been having all day today. Most people are focused upon the dysfunctional relationships of those around them and calling it normal life. In other words, you're not all of a sudden going to wait until something unpleasant happens to someone and then be in a position of being able to withdraw your attention all of a sudden. That's why we're teaching you about the vortex. We're teaching you about your buffer zone. We're teaching you about your shock absorbers. If you don't put shock absorbers on your car until the day that you're really on the terrible bumpy road, you will have destroyed your vehicle before you get the shock absorbers on. But if you know about potential bumpy roads, so you put shock absorbers on your car, now you're prepared for the smooth roads and you're prepared for the bumpy roads too. And that's what this vortex is. It's a shock absorbing state of being. It puts you in concert with the best ideas and the highest inspiration. It will leave you at the place of saying the right thing at the right time. And so our encouragement is practice it when it isn't needed, so that when it is needed, you're already practiced. And there are people who will accuse you of not caring. But if you've practiced it enough and you know that you really do care, someone who's having a struggle and you haven't been focused upon it, but you've been knowing what they don't want, so thinking about what they do want, and knowing what they don't want and thinking about what they do want, and you've been making lists of positive aspects about this person. You've been envisioning them in their recovery, in their solution, in their joy, so that that's who they are to you. Now you're life-giving when you visit with them. And even if you caught them out of responsibility, and law of attraction won't put the two of you together if you're feeling good about them and they're feeling bad about them. But if you then move out of responsibility into a conversation with them when you've mostly been feeling good, and they accuse you, where have you been? I've been needing you, and you feel aloof, you feel out of touch to me. It feels like you're not even with me anymore. You're not there for me. You're not thinking of me. Now you say, oh, nothing could be further from the truth. I think about you all day, every day, because I know who you are. I can feel the power of your being. I know this and this. Get your book of positive aspects out and let them know where you have been journaling about them day after day, page after page. This is who you are. No one can accuse you of not caring about them when you are focused upon the best possible thing that could happen to them and making it a dominant part of your vibration, you see.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed.